Hello, good evening, and welcome to Final Boss Fights. My name is Jeff, and once again, I am the Keeper of Arcane Lore for this evening. You may call me the Keeper. To say we are playing tonight Call of Cthulhu, Horror on the Orient Express. It's been a while since we've been here. I'm joined tonight by the Dark Lord Richard,
Hello.
Robin,
Hi.
and Sarah.
Hi.
Christy is not with us this evening, away on holiday, and Brian will be hoping to join us a bit later. So, last time we were here, way back in the dim and distant past of, in our time, probably July, in game time the previous day. That's always fun. That's always fun. It's like no, it's like how we come be away from it for weeks, but from our adventures, it's only been hours have passed. So anyway, last time we were here, we finished off the Milan chapter of Horror on the Orient Express. Our investigators were looking into the disappearance of Caterina Cavallero, the death of the death of the activist in Milan, and all roads led to the opera, the opening night of Aida at the Teatro de Scala. While there, Maya managed to infiltrate the performance and appear on stage as a priestess, while the rest of the party, took their seats and quickly discovered that Caterina Cavallero was there, only she'd been kidnapped and magically aged, and her voice had been transplanted somehow into the body of Flavio Conti, I believe his name was, who started singing with her voice. The torso of the Sildef simulacrum, which everybody has been looking for, appeared on the stage. Lots of stuff, lots of chaos happened, and our heroes managed to recover the torso and catch the express and leave Milan in a hurry, leaving behind an utter mess of dead bodies, wounded people, violence, possibly a chameleon. Don't know about the chameleon. Chameleon may make an appearance somehow. But tonight we're going to take a pause in the main story. We're going to return to a previous chapter. This is going to take place the night before you boarded the Orient Express. So this would be the night of the 27th of January, I believe. This would be before you take the Orient Express out of Milan, where you're resting in your hotel room, keeping one eye open to make sure that nobody comes after you. But as you lie in your beds, somewhat restlessly, you slowly drift off to sleep, and it's like you feel this rhythmic thumping coming from somewhere beneath you, almost like a stampede of elephants. And you open your eyes, and you find yourselves in your elaborate compartments on board the Dreamlands Express. Maya, yours was a training room, almost like a gymnasium, I believe.
Yeah.
Nancy, you had a huge library.
Yep.
Richard, yours was filled with mementos from your past adventures in the army, was it? If I'm correct.
I think so. Yeah. And but probably a bit like a study and like
That
maps
was it, yeah.
and that sort of thing.
Yep. So, and of course, Roland and Edward will awaken in their own compartments. And as you awaken, the memories of your previous adventures here start to come back to you. You remember that you are traveling on the Dreamlands Express, heading towards the Gulf of Nodens, where dreamers can discard regrets, dreams, emotional baggage, anything that they feel will be holding them back. You also remember that you recently solved the murder of one of the passengers on board the Dreamlands Express, a kitten named Snowpaw. The culprit he looks like a human, but his true form was some sort of crustacean-like creature named Moronamir, and he is currently being held imprisoned in the baggage compartment. You remember some of your fellow passengers. There's the old woman, Lady Madame Brusha, the young dancer Zusa. You remember that there is a delegation from Sarnath and a delegation of the beings of Ib who are trying to resolve past transgressions against each other. As you are lying in your beds, you hear the voice of Henri, the conductor, echo throughout the express, echo throughout the cabin. Even though you don't see him, you can't see where the voice is coming from. Mesdames, Messieurs, meine Damen und Herren, Signor, Signorina, ladies and gentlemen. This is your conductor Henri speaking. We are 2 hours away from our next stop, this port city of Afarat. We are approaching the halfway point of our journey to Sarnathians and the Gulf of Nodens. If you have not done so already, please, I'd strongly recommend that you think about creating some sort of dream artifact, some totem that you may wish to discard into the Gulf of Nodens. This is not a requirement, but it is always good to have the option available when we arrive there. Following our departure from the port city of Afarat, we will be holding our evening banquet. Please make yourselves ready for that. That is all. Please enjoy the rest of your journey. And as you look outside the windows, you can see the glittering sea stretching out away for you into distances unknown. And again, you can hear the thud, 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 thud of the train, of the creatures of the train. And as before, it's a very smooth journey. You'd almost think you weren't moving if it weren't for the landscape shooting past. What would you like to do?
Is anyone creating a token?
That's what Nancy would be doing. So, I think Nancy would be going and looking for a book that she really struggled with at school. She's going to go and find Crime and Punishment.
Okay.
So she's sort of going to go and have a little look through her library and see if she can find it. And in the front of it, she's going to write an inscription to, I suppose, to herself. Something about how expectations of others and society's expectations of her do not necessarily need to hold her back.
I like it. You would find it very easily. I imagine that the library would be super organized according to alphabetical by author.
Yep.
You find it quite easily under D for Dostoevsky.
Yep.
And it is there just as you remember it. If you flick through it again, it's like your memory of the book. So you do find the text hard to read, but struggling to read it because that's how you would remember it from your childhood.
Yep.
Maybe some of the pages towards the back are blank because you never quite got that far.
Yep.
But it is the book as you remember it, and you can write the inscription quite easily, and so it represents letting go of society's expectations that would hold you back.
Yes.
I love it. Maya, what about you?
Maya would be spending some more time with the Ibians, of course. And she would have made the token. But she'd be teaching the Ibians about human traditions and what's usually happens with them.
Okay. Can we ask what your totem is?
Well, I've told you what it is, Jeff.
I know. I want you to tell the class what it is. Or is that not something you want to reveal yet?
It is a little sack doll of a man in a dressed up as a detective.
Oh.
think that's what we agreed on, wasn't it?
We said yes, yeah. And do you remind me what it represents? It represents your fear of getting caught. Was that it, or did I just make that up?
I'm trying to remember now.
Or pursuit.
It was
Some
it
past
was
association. I'm sure it was.
yeah. I'm trying to think what it was now. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah. You can quite easily make it like you can quite easily make it with like bits and bobs you find around your room, and probably if you ask around some of the others, you probably find all the bits you need for it, and you do find a passable. It does look like a passable facsimile of a figure in like a coat and a hat, like the typical stereotypical sort of detective. Major Mercy, what would yours be?
I want to get a map of the Middle East. Basically, it is the geography of the Middle East at the end of World War One, when Britain and other people made a right mess of everything, trying to redraw borders and make countries, and he just feels it as like it was an absolute failure, and he was a little bit involved in that, and so it's like his big regret, or one of his big regrets, that they messed that up so badly.
It's like trying to let go of his like past mistakes or his past guilt for what happened.
Oh well, I don't think you'd want to let it go.
That's what this is about.
Ah.
Discarding into the Gulf of
Oh
Nogans.
no! Well, he would keep his guilt and no. You got to learn from that. He's keeping it.
Okay. So does he make anything at this time, or would he like?
No.
Okay.
He's got to shoulder. He's got to carry his burdens of mistakes and regret.
So yeah, you've made these totems probably, and they all come out as you'd expect, and they all represent your past regrets, the things you want to leave behind you, or not in case of Major Mercy. Probably still about an hour or so before we get to Afarat. What would you like to do in the meantime? Maya is in the baggage compartment playing with the Ibians. And Maya, I think we agreed as well last in between sessions that you spent so much time with the Ibians now you're starting to pick up on their body language, on their facial expressions, even on you're able to start detecting like various pheromones. Everybody else is still like absolutely disgusted by the smell that they emit, but you're able to detect like subtle differences in like pheromones, so you're starting to pick up some of their, for want of a better word, language. Not to the point where you still need the squeaker to be able to communicate with them, but you're starting to get impressions of like meanings that can be conveyed. So you obviously like know when they're happy, they're unhappy, know when they want to draw people's attention or some such. Major Mercy and Nancy, what should you be doing in the once you sorted your business out? Where would you be going anywhere in particular in the train?
I might want to just double check on this murderer fellow.
Yeah, Nancy will come too. What was he held prisoner in again? Sorry, Jeff.
Padded compartment in the near the baggage compartments. They have some padded compartments like used for uncooperative passengers, shall we say.
So just want to make sure he's still imprisoned and secure.
You go there, and he's still like in the compartment. He's still like bound in the tentacles of the train, and he looks at you. He's in his human form. He looks at you with his like yellowy eyes, and he just seems like quite docile. He's accepted in his situation. He's not making an attempt to escape or anything. He knows what happened, and he knows what he did, so he's very docile at the moment. you want to say to him, or?
No, I just wanted to check that he was secure.
It's like when the guard comes around and like slides open the hatch for the prison cell. Then yeah. Sorry,
Can I
Nancy?
change what Nancy was going to do? Can she go to the cat compartment and see how they're doing after the murdered cat?
Sure. I'll just move people around a bit. You head down to the cat's compartment, and as you may expect, it's a very like somber atmosphere. The cats are all very quiet. Snowpaw's mother, I can't remember if you named her before, but her name is Sophia. She's still distraught, still grieving for the loss of her baby, but the other cats are doing their best, and you get the feeling that it's very somber. They're all like paying their respects, and yeah.
Nancy sort of goes over to wherever sort of Snowpaw's Sophia's sort of holding court, and she sort of bends down and just extends her hand and says, "I'm so sorry for your loss."
And she looks up at you and she like nods and just like nuzzles your hand a bit, just like accepting what you say.
And I sort of it shouldn't have happened. If there is anything further we can do, we will be happy to help you as far as we can.
She meows quietly in response. Obviously, I don't think you can understand what she's saying, but you get the feeling that she accepts your condolences.
Cool. In that case, that was all I wanted to go and do. Check that no one else is sort of sniffing around them or being... Yeah, looks like they could be trying to threaten the cats in any way.
Of course, yep. After another hour, probably another hour or so, the train starts to. You feel the train starts to slow down, and anybody looking out the windows, you would see you're approaching a small port town, with some unusual sort of architecture. It looks like the walls of the buildings are made of limestone. You can see a couple of boats in the harbour. The express, comes to a stop outside. Henri says, Mesdames, Messieurs, we have arrived at Afarat. We'll be here for 2 hours. Please feel free to stretch your legs. We'll be loading and unloading certain cargo from here. In the meantime, please feel free to leave the train and venture into the port.
Yeah, Nancy wants to go out and explore.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys have to cast your totems into the sea or something?
That's not until further on, is it?
It's the very end of the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the very
Well,
end
I will go as well.
Let's go back to the main map. You leave the train, the express, come down, and you see, as you do so, you see the tentacles reaching into the baggage compartment and pulling out crates, leaving them on the platform. You can see Henri directing all this work, almost picturing like a conductor, like the conductor that you've just seen at the Teatro de Scala, like waving his arms, directing the tentacles as if he's directing a ballet. Some of the crates are open. You can see pottery, exquisite, delicate pottery. You can see strange coloured flowers, almost like lilies, coming down on the platform, trading with nearby merchants, going back onto the platform. The actual town itself isn't all that big, actually. It's just this very small, like, seaport. It's a sort of place where you get off and stretch your legs and maybe grab some local coffee, or if in the wherever the Dreamlands equivalent of it is.
Maya's going to see if she can get a hold of some of the local delicacies to try.
Local delicacies are, if I say in some ways, both familiar and unfamiliar to you. You can see various birds with bright plumage being like strung up from a market stall, and you can see some of them being roasted. Tastes like chicken is the old cliche, but to be honest, there's not much else you can think to describe it.
Like tentacle soup.
Not really. There's some very tart fruits, unfamiliar fruits. some dry, some like savoury sort of like nutty sort of things. It's the sort of thing where you can kind of identify the taste in your mind, but it's not something you could put your finger on.
Yeah, Maya's going to stock up on them and take them back to the Ibians as well.
Oh, nice. Very good. Yep.
You said there'd be sort of somewhere that we could go and sit and have a sort of equivalent of a coffee.
There's like these like taverns and inns with like tables outside and awnings over. It's almost like Middle East. If you had to label it, it almost feels very Middle Eastern.
Yeah, in that case, Nancy's going to do that and sit and watch what's happening around. If anything in particular is happening.
Last time you were in a city centre, I believe, was Dilathleen, and that was a very like industrial city where you didn't feel safe. You saw city guards around every corner. You heard like arguments in pubs. You could see like drunkards on streets. This is completely different. This is almost like a very quiet, picturesque seaside town where you see the locals. You see like the local fishermen, like pulling in their wares and sending them to the markets. You can hear their cries of probably languages you don't understand, but crying, advertising their food, their cloths, that sort of thing. It's like very different to Dilathleen. It's almost it's a very pleasant, probably a pleasant couple of hours that you pass there.
Yeah, Nancy's happy with that. Just having a watch, yeah.
And as you do, like the whole area is like bathing in golden light because the sun is starting to set. Is in our time it would be about 7 o'clock in the evening, and the sun is starting to set, and it's like bathes everything like a golden hue. That's like that golden hour that you get. That's right in the the early evening. Major Mercy, what are you doing in this?
I think you'd just have a bit of a stroll, just take things in. It would be weird if it is reminiscent of the Middle East. That's where Major Mercy spent a lot of time, so I'd be familiar. But again, it's not.
It gives you that sort of vibe, that sort of impression of being like Middle Eastern, but again, it's like you couldn't say it's definitely Middle Eastern. It just like leaves that impression on your mind. As the sun starts to set, the walls, like I say, the walls of buildings made from limestone, they do tend to have like a blue sheen on them. They said, whether it's like something to do with the light or lack of light, it's quite picturesque actually. It's like this blue like glow over the limestone as the sun sets.
When do we need to be back on the train, just to make sure we don't...
Henri would have told you that the train departs at 9 o'clock. 2 hours. There's a 2-hour stop.
I suppose if there's any people about, I might try and engage someone in conversation.
I think you could probably like find a couple of passers-by. Again, you can understand what they're saying. It's not like it's a language that you're not familiar with, but whether it's to do with the way the Dreamlands work, you can. Some of them understand some of them can understand what you're saying, and it's good evening, sir. Welcome to Afarat. I hope you're enjoying enjoying your evening.
Yes, it's a lovely city. First time I've been here.
I do hope you'll come again, sir.
Well, to be honest, I'm not quite sure how I ended up here in the first place, but came on the express, but not quite sure how I got there in the first place.
Well, do not fear, sir. If you wish to find your way back, you will find your way back here, sir. Do not worry about that.
I was gonna ask them, if at all possible, about the Ibians and those other people on the train, the horrible ones.
Sarnathians, yeah, the Sarnathians, yep.
And just see what the as a third party in all of this, what's their take on this dispute and these respective peoples.
I can only relate the rumours that I've heard, sir. It seems that there's some grievances going back many years, and we do hear things coming from the sailors through the port and through other travellers. It seems the Ibians lived near the lake, near a lake towards the south, and the Sarnathians, they wanted the land and they drove out the Ibians, exterminated a lot of them, and those Ibians that are left obviously held grievances of it. They swore that they would bring doom to the Sarnathians.
Doom, as in like destruction and.
If you believe, if that's what I was told by this, that's what I was told by the travellers.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, I cannot say, sir.
Well, but that's very interesting. Thank you. That's been helpful.
If you ask my opinion, sir, if the rumours are true, I think maybe the Ibians might have a point. Although,
I mean,
some do say it's those who purported to have seen them have said they most loathsome of creatures, but well, I don't know, sir. I'm just a simple merchant. Can I interest you in some of these fine cloths? We have a Brian. Welcome, Brian.
Yes, and I enter. Hello, I entered just in time for that found creature remark.
Just to catch you up, Brian, the express you have fallen asleep in Milan. You have returned to the Dream Express. You arrived at Afarat. Let's backtrack a bit, actually. Henri has recommended that people make dream artifacts or totems representing desires or regrets or dreams that they wish to discard. Would Edward Beatty have any sort of emotional baggage he wishes to leave behind?
Not at the moment.
Okay, there's still time. So yes, this is just like a pleasant 2-hour stop in a cozy, quaint little port city of Afarat. What would Edward be doing in such a place? What would he do? There's like sort of like a Middle Eastern feel to it. There's like the cafes or inns with tables outside, market stalls. What sort of thing would Edward be doing there?
Probably taking a look at the market.
I'd say that Edward is probably like going around with Maya then, because Maya said that Maya was stocking up on certain like snacks, fruits, nuts and things, various like cloths of things you've not seen before, but it's like kind of like, as I said to you, it's like kind of like familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. It's like, it gives you a sort of impression, but it's nothing you can put your finger on. The sun has now set and it is now approaching 9 o'clock.
So we should get back to the train.
You arrive back to the platform and you see that there's a flurry of activity as Henri is feverishly directing the train's tentacles to bring in like crate after crate of food from the local merchants. But he does acknowledge you. He stops what he's doing for a moment and gives a little bow to you to acknowledge that to acknowledge your presence. He says, "Mesdames, Messieurs, welcome back. You have made good time. Actually, you are very punctual. Just to say, our next stop will be at Salon. It will be a 2-hour trip, and the banquet will be held very shortly. Please make yourselves ready for it."
Maya's just going to kind of, when she has a moment with him, just go and say, "The Ibians haven't had any more trouble, have they?"
Oh, no, mademoiselle, no. The Sarnathians have been behaving themselves. In fact, both parties will be at the banquet this evening. The Ibians have been invited and are most welcome to be at the banquet this evening.
Very good. Let's hope that the Sarnathians decide to behave this evening. And you can see, like, she's saying that with like absolute venom in her voice.
Henri is ever the diplomat, but you get the idea that he kind of agrees with you. So if there's nothing else, we can move to the start of the banquet. If there's anything else that anybody would like to do beforehand, like for getting ready.
Nancy would get changed and sort of put on from her luggage the smartest thing that she's got, something appropriate.
Let's dig into that a bit. What would be the smartest thing that Nancy could ever hope or dream of owning?
So in practical terms, the thing that she's got is an sort of old hand-me-down evening dress. But the most beautiful thing that she could ever have is like a brand new made for her. So the one that she actually has is a bit ill-fitting, doesn't fit quite, sort of one that is absolutely perfectly fitted to her.
And we're in the Dreamlands. That's exactly what you have.
Yeah, not too showy, so it's not sort of like a massively bright standy outy one, but it's something that just fits perfectly and feels lovely and things.
Yeah, it'll be like it's essentially it'd be your dream dress. Let's say Nancy's dream dress. The thing that she's most like wanted to own in the real world, but hasn't been able to find or haven't been able to afford. But it's here, it's hers. She has it.
She'd be very happy about it.
So I'll move the party to the banquet hall, and again the tables are set out immaculately. There are candles lit. There are lamps around the room. You see carts with the finest of wines. You probably recognise some of it as a Cerubian wine that you investigated before. There is a menu, actually. I do have a menu for this.
Ooh.
Second banquet menu, that's the one. This is just a selection of the things on offer, but of course in the Dreamlands you can have anything you wish. And as you sit down and take your places, Henri directs you to your tables. You see in one corner, one corner you see the Ibian party, the 6 Ibians, kind of away from the rest of them because there's still that smell.
Maya's going to go and join the Ibians.
Yeah, of course.
I knew you would. I knew you would. That's absolutely fine. You can see that Henri's tried to put down incense or perfume, but it's not having too much of an effect. It's more for the comfort of the rest of the party. Sitting near you, actually, Major Mercy, is the American Mac Mackenzie, and you see he's still got this briefcase handcuffed to his hand. Oh, I don't believe we've met. My name is Mac Mackenzie. You can call me Mac. Who do I have the pleasure of addressing?
Major Sebastian Mercy.
Absolute pleasure. So, you're on this trip as well, eh? If it's not too forward to ask, what are you hoping to discard?
Oh, I don't believe in such things. One learns from their mistakes.
Quite right too. Well, I wish I could say the same. However, I'm hoping to discard this here, and he shows you the briefcase. You can see that it's bulging a bit with scraps of paper hanging out the sides. This has never done me any good. It's treaties, if you could believe it. It's diplomatic letters, and well, one day I'm going to get rid of it, but maybe not just yet. I like this train too much. You do know that once you discard, you can't come back on the train. Did Henri tell you that?
I'm not sure he did. I'll make sure to tell my friends that.
Yeah, so some sort of contract with some great being or something. Those who discard their totem in the Gulf are forbidden from travelling on the train.
So what happens to them in the immediacy?
They wake up. Well, I imagine they wake up. Obviously, I can't tell you from experience, but they're free to enter the Dreamlands. They just can't ride the train again. That's the bargain.
Oh, I see. Why is your case handcuffed to your wrist?
I don't want to lose it. I don't know what I've actually tried to get it off, but it seems that I don't want to lose this case. It's attached to me. That's why I kind of want to discard it. I want to get rid of that life. I want to write poetry. Do you write poetry, Major?
No, I don't write poetry. No, I've studied it.
Oh well, my plan is to alight the train at Sona Nil before we reach the Gulf and learn something from the poets there.
So you say you have treaties in that case?
Yeah, just dry, typical sort of run-of-the-mill treaties. Don't mean anything. The wording is, it's like diplomatic wording. It has no meaning of itself. Oops, someone's microphone is being eaten.
Sorry, it's just moving mine aside
Sure
for a
thing.
moment.
Sure thing. I tell you what though, if anybody here you want to watch out for, that chap over there. And he points to this bearded, almost Russian-looking fellow at a table nearby. Says his name's Karakov. I think he's had some very shady dealings. He says that if he had £1 for every person killed in the war, he'd be twice the millionaire he is now.
Did he killed in the war?
No, he's he whispers it to you. He's an arms dealer.
Oh, I shall have to go and have a word with him at some point.
Yeah, just watch yourself around him. He's always looking for a way to turn a profit.
Oh, thank you, Mac.
Ah, absolute pleasure.
And just before I do anything, I just wanted to let my friends know about how you won't be able to get back on the train if you discard something. And then I would like to speak to the Russian guy, but
Before that,
back to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm just going to stay with you a bit longer because it's probably about this time that a horrible stench fills your nostrils. And look around and you see two of the Ibians approaching you, and one of them holds out this thing to you. The other one is holding the speaker. One of them is holding up this thing to you, and you can't identify it. It's sticky, it's slimy, it's smelly. But he's holding it out to you as if he's presenting it to you.
I'm gonna, with my handkerchief, take the item and have a look at it, inspect it.
The one with the squeaker says, "Friend Maya said it was traditional to give gifts on a day like this."
It can be, yes. And what is this?
It is a gift.
Can I tell what it is, Keeper?
You have absolutely no idea what it is.
Is it like a solid object? Is it?
It's very squishy.
Well, thank you for the gift. It is much appreciated.
And the one with the squeaker, like those, and it starts singing is too loud, too strong a word. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
That's very kind of you.
What's Maya doing while this is going on? Maya?
Sorry?
What's Maya doing while this is going on?
Stifling back a laugh, to be honest. Just gonna give Major Mercy a little thumbs up.
Well, thank you. It's very kind.
And they bow and to the corner where the rest of their party and Maya are. You see the Russian guy eyeing this little display. Trying to hold back a smirk, I think.
I will leave this gift on where I'm sitting, like on the table, and then go over to the Russian person. But again, if you want to come back to me, that's.
Come back to you. I'll come back to you. Nancy, what are you doing?
So did we sort of have a set table? I know you said it was all very beautifully set out and things like that.
You've been directed to a table, but nobody really cares if you want to mingle, move around and
Okay.
mingle.
Who were on the table sort of
Uh,
close to him?
I would say that near to you, you've got Madame Brusha and Zeusa sitting at a table together.
In that case, I'm going to go over and talk to them.
And it's a similar situation as you saw before. Madame Brusha is having a conversation with Zeusa about dancing, really. Zeusa's dream to be a dancer. And Madame Brusha looks up as you approach and goes, "Oh, my child, it's good to see you again. Please, please, sit, join us."
I do. And I sort of say, ladies, sort of give Madame Brusha sort of a respectful head nod. It's a pleasure to see you again. Did you enjoy the stop this afternoon?
It is a very scenic city, but I am not as young as I once was. My knees were not up to it, so I simply retired to the ladies' parlour and watched the city in the sunset. It's a very beautiful sunset out of the window there. And Zeus said, I had a wander around the city. It's very different. It reminds me of the Constantinople. Have you ever been to Constantinople?
I've passed through on the way to other places, but not properly. It was an interesting experience, sitting and watching and listening and sounds and things. It was beautiful.
I suppose I'm due to dancing in Constantinople in a few days' time. Not sure if I'll be able to do it though.
I remember you saying, so this evening is a ball. Would you perhaps dance tonight?
I could. It's possible. I think it's probably about this time that you hear the Ibians' rendition of "Happy Birthday" to Major Mercy. And and Madame Bruce. "Oh, Zusha, you must dance. It is that man's birthday. You must dance."
Yeah.
And Zeus says, "Yeah, very well, I will dance." And she stands up, approaches the table where the rest of you are, and says, "It is your birthday, I hear, so I will dance for you." And she starts to dance, and you hear this like piping and fluting starting up as she starts to dance. You don't see any musicians or anything. You just hear like this unearthly piping and fluting coming from the train, coming from around you. And Zeus begins to dance, and it's a very graceful dance, very elegant, but at the same time, something's sad about it. Anybody who's watching, please make me a psychology roll.
Just getting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
I'll allow you to spend. We'll see how the others do, but I'll allow you to spend that if you wish to.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to spend a look if no one else manages.
Or Major
Yeah.
Mercy could spend luck. I think Nancy, it would probably be appropriate if you spend luck actually. To
Yeah,
make
yeah,
that
no,
pass.
Nancy's absolutely going to spend.
You get the feeling that she is sad from what you've learned as you're speaking to her.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the recent events have made the whole atmosphere sad. The death of Snowpaw, as you saw in the cat's compartments. But this is something else. This is something personal. Like she's sad because she's not going to be dancing anymore.
When she finishes,
There's a polite snapping of applause.
yeah, no, Nancy absolutely leads the applause with it, and sort of when Zusa comes back, Zeusa, that was the most beautiful thing that I have ever seen. I am familiar with sort of dancing for joy, but I've never seen such sadness conveyed at the same time, and with such grace and elegance.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Forgive me, I know you said you were keen to stop dancing, but what is forcing this? What is making you make this decision?
A moment. In the waking world, I lack talent. Here, I can dance. I can be the best dancer ever. But back in the real world, it's not like that. I don't really have any real talent for dancing. My dream is to be a dancer. That's why I'm a dancer here. But I know that this dream isn't going to come to reality. My agent has booked me for the winter season in some dingy Constantinople nightclub. But I don't know.
I maybe misunderstand how things work here, but I believe your totem you intend to throw into the Gulf of Nodens. What is it that you're hoping to attach to that?
Totem, and she pulls out from some fold of her gown. It's the Dreamlands, so anything goes in terms of like space or volume. It's a statuette. A statuette of a small dancer, and if you look closely, you probably see it's like her.
Mm-hmm.
This represents my dream of being a dancer. I'm going to cast it into the Gulf.
And
when
are you hoping?
When I've done that, it'll be a new start, a new chapter for me.
And do you have something you're intending to do next?
No, I don't.
It just seems to bring you so much joy, Zeusa. Even if you cannot dance professionally, I worry that this will also take joy away from you as well.
Make me, and I know we tried this before and it failed, make me your choice. I'll give you a choice of any of them: fast talk, persuade, or charm, and you can have a bonus die with it.
Oh. Fast talk. She's not good at any of these. Persuade. Or what was the other one? Charm.
Charm.
I'll do charm.
Bonus die. Hammer that bonus button.
Oh, it's on my sheet, isn't it?
No. If you go to
it's the button. It's the button under the card on the sidebar.
Okay.
Ah.
Okay, it's a 38 on a 15, so 98 is an absolute critical fumble.
Yeah.
30, yeah. She thinks about what you're saying. Obviously, not making a commitment either way, but she thinks about what you're saying. You think even though she looks like she hasn't changed her mind, she seems to be taking it on board. I think time will tell what her final decision will be.
I turn to. I can't think what her name is.
Madame Brusha.
Madame Brusha. And I say, Madam, forgive me, it is a very personal question, but are you hoping to discard something as well?
I think I can trust you. I've trusted you before. You are aware of the story of the two lovers, the heart of love, the lover's heart. My enemy, the sorcerer, wishes this heart for himself. I'm going to cast it into the Gulf to separate it from him.
Of course.
Make sure that he can never get it.
I apologise, I do remember as well. You have it somewhere stored safe at the moment where no one could.
It is well hidden at the moment, yes. And you remember that she carries around this valise with her, but it's empty, It's a decoy. Yep. let's turn to Edward. Edward, what are you doing? How are you doing during this banquet?
Well, just having a meal.
Edward, as everybody else seems to be moving away from the table, you find yourself sat on your own at the table for a moment. And then a shadow falls over you from behind. And you look up. And it's one of the Sarnathians. Ah, good evening, my friend. I don't believe we've had the pleasure. My name is Caramel. I'm one of the Sarnathian delegation. I must say, we've been very impressed of your performance during the tragic death of that poor kitten.
Yes, it was very much a tragedy, as always is the case in the death of a child. I don't believe we've met.
Absolute pleasure. I was wondering, seeing your diligence, your composure, if we could enlist your assistance in a little matter of our own.
Yes, what would it be?
Well, as I'm sure you're no doubt aware, myself and my companions are travelling to Seranion to meet with King Kuranis over some trifling dispute with those passengers over there, waving a hand at the Ibians. Something about some grievance thousands of years ago. It would mean a lot to us if we knew we had your support in the coming negotiations.
Yes, of course. 1,000 years is far too long to hold a grudge.
Exactly. My thoughts exactly. I knew you would see things our way. I had a feeling that you'd be the right person to come to. Yeah, thank you for your assistance. So remember that. We will come to you when the time comes. Can everybody but Edward Beatty make me spot hidden rolls? Let's say that spot hidden. Oh dear. Oh dear. That's another 98.
Oh.
And one from Major Mercy. Major Mercy and Maya are different ends of the banqueting hall. You don't hear what was said, but you do see one of the Sarnathians move over to Edward, engage him in conversation, and then move away again, seemingly satisfied.
Yes. Maya's just kind of going to indicate to the Ibians to hold on a second, and she'll be right back. And she's going to walk up to Edward and ideally call her Major Mercy as well on the way past. And she's going to kind of say, Edward, what was that arsehole talking to you about?
Oh, something about some dispute between his people and the Ibians.
You do know what that dispute was about, don't you? Right?
Yes, I really have no actual interest in getting involved in that nonsense.
All right. Just be aware, we are in somewhere that we don't know exactly how it works. We don't know much about either of these groups of people. Just be careful what you agree to in case they have some way of forcing deals that have been made on you before you agree to anything.
I will.
And also, get to know the Ibians a bit. They're lovely people. I'm just going to clap him on the shoulder and walk back to the Ibians.
Brilliant, brilliant. Going to come back to Major Mercy. You can still, if you wish to, you can still try and approach Karakov.
Yes, very much so.
So you approach, as I've given his name, you approach, I think by this point you would have got to know the names of everybody on the train. This is Monsieur Karakov. He affects himself to be French, but he's actually Russian. And he sits down and says, you must be in Major Mercy. You have the look of a soldier about you. Yes, I can tell that. I've encountered many. I've had dealings with many soldiers and officers and gentlemen in my time.
I have the uniform of one as well.
In a bed.
Yes, maybe you should wear it next time. I saw you cut a dashing figure in it.
Oh, I intend that I had. I mean, that's what I always wear.
What can I do for you? Please come.
Um,
Please, may I pour you some wines? Find the Cerubian wine.
Oh, I'm fine for now. I've had some negative experiences with it.
I find that hard to
Um,
believe.
I've been told you are an arms dealer. Is that correct?
This is a very blunt way of putting it. I simply think of myself as a merchant providing governments, states, what they need to be able to effectively accomplish their aims.
Oh, I'm a professional soldier. We need weapons.
Yes, you must. In that case, you know full well the value of quality equipment that
Of
will
course,
serve you
yeah.
well. Oh, I simply provide what the customer wants.
And who do you sell to?
Oh, let's see. Governments, nations, armies, all over the world.
Hmm.
After all,
And
sure you understand if I don't sell them, somebody else will do. That Zaharov will do if I don't.
Zarahov.
Zaharov, yes, he's a rival competitor in the market. He's of no consequence. Cut price shoddy goods falls apart as soon as you look at them.
And is this in the actual waking world? Is it?
Yes. Although now you come to mention it, there aren't any guns or weapons of that kind here. Can you imagine the market possibilities if we could get guns into the Dreamlands?
Well,
You see the cogs in his head start to turn a bit.
well, I think one of the problem you have there is that people just seem to wish for stuff and have it.
You think that I tried when I came here. I tried wishing for a gun. It didn't happen.
I think I did that as well. Yeah. Yes. Did
I think there must be some sort of limit as to what you can imagine into existence. But can you imagine if you can bring things from the waking world here? Can you imagine the possibilities?
I'm sure they have no problem killing each other without guns.
As you're talking to him, you suddenly see him start and jump in his seat, looking around. Did you hear that? What was that?
I don't.
You didn't hear anything. Just to say, you did not hear anything.
Yep. No, not at all.
Oh, thought. Oh, I must have been imagining it.
Are you quite well?
I feel fine. I think I feel fine. Well, I seem to be very well. Thank you very much.
Could I work out what it is like? What do you think you saw or heard or?
Some sort of loud bang. Almost. I know it's impossible, but it's almost like a cannon. No, it can't be. No. Now when we bring guns over here, that's when we'll really hear the cannons, and that's when I'll be able to hear it properly.
Yeah. Which direction was this coming from?
Difficult to say. I just heard it. I couldn't put down a direction.
Keeper, would I get the impression that essentially this is in his mind? Now, I know we're in dream world, so that could mean any number of things, but like, this is not something that I would be able to experience.
I'm just gonna use a bit of keeper fiat here and say that I imagine that out of conversation, Edward, you noticed something similar in the previous encounter when Karakov was running down a corridor muttering about hearing the guns. Could you hear that? Could you hear the guns? And you couldn't hear the guns. I can say that you've kind of shared that information among the party, so Major Mercy, you would be aware that this is not an isolated incident. This has been happening periodically.
Keeper, is this like a nightmare? Is it like he's hearing all the guns of, like, you know, all the countless lives that have been lost because of the weapons he sold?
Now, if this is your D&D game in Exodus, I would say take inspiration, but this isn't, so I can't.
No.
But yes, essentially yes.
Perhaps I'm sure it is your conscience, and the sound you hear is the weapons that you have sold to people, and you know, one way or another, people have died.
Don't be silly, man. Don't be silly. It's just business. I'm a businessman. That's all it is. I provide the equipment. What happens to it after that is no concern of mine.
Did you ever sell, let's say, like machine guns?
Oh, M4 carbines. I'm guessing. Periodically appropriate automatic weapons. Yes. Yes. I sold a lot of those. I'm sure. I think that some of them may have even been used during the Great War.
Well, yeah. I was wondering if you'd ever seen what these weapons do to people, because I have.
Now it says here psychoanalysis, but I don't know how your psychoanalysis is. Is your psychoanalysis good at all?
I'm gonna have to have a look.
Failing that, I would allow a persuade roll.
Well, psychoanalysis is 1. Psychology is 46.
It's slightly different. If you're talking to him, that'll be like a social skill. So that'll be persuade. Psychology is you're getting about him, you're seeing things about him. But I'll say if you can persuade roll, I'll let you have a persuade roll.
Persuade's 10, so we'll see what happens.
Going to go well. This is not going to go well. Because
oh, it's like me doing career counselling.
I was going to say we're not a very charismatic party, are we?
Have a bonus die for that for the connection you made before. I'll give you a bonus die for that. It's not much better. He just like laughs it off and says, "Nope, I don't concern myself with that. All I care about is the numbers at the end of the day."
So I think like Mercy's conflicted because he is a soldier, you know, like not just because he was conscripted, like, you know, this is what he does. But like, yeah, this guy seems like a bad.
Tell you what, make me a psychology check. Something slightly different, but make me a psychology check, just so you can get something. Since you mentioned it, do you want to use luck for that?
Oh yeah, I'll look for that.
10 points of luck. You're talking to him, and all his bravado about being a businessman, not caring about what happens to afterwards, you can see in his eyes, he is holding on to something about it. There is something behind there that you do see some glimmers of guilt.
During the war, who did you sell to then? Germany, Russia,
Yes.
both.
Well, I had. It's quite funny, you see. I've got my finger in so many companies. A lot of the time, the customers would be accepting bids from different companies, and they're all mine anyway. So I could sell to one company, customers one company, sell to another customers another company. They'll never know the difference. They wouldn't know.
Yes, but you sold to the Germans, for example.
Yes, I believe I did. Yes.
And you're French or Russian? I'm not entirely sure, but your country's enemy, regardless.
I sell to where the demand is. I supply the demand.
Just maybe find. I mean, assuming you're a very rich person.
I suppose you could say that.
Maybe find a way to put that money to some good use for others.
I will take that on board, sir. Now, if you excuse me, I do see some people I want to have a conversation with.
I'm going to start saying that at parties. I'm going to
And he
talk to
gets
someone.
up.
Oh, I see someone else I want to have a conversation with.
And he walks over to the Ibians. And Maya, you hear him verses with the Ibian with the speaker. And probably in like low conversation that you can't really hear it. I won't make you roll for this. Whatever this conversation is, he seems to be dissatisfied by it. And he walks away from the Libyans. And then he moves over to the Sarnathian delegation. And this conversation is much more to his liking, and he it finishes with him standing up, shaking hands with them, and he walks away with a big smile on his face.
Maya's going to question our Ibian pal.
Yep.
What was that about?
He said he had gun. What is gun?
Something very nasty. A device to kill people. I am a little worried because it looks like he's been having a similar conversation with our mutual friends over there, and they seem quite eager with this proposal.
We do not need such things.
I would agree.
Are confident that they will get what is coming to them. Their doom will come sooner or later. Just want to say that in the book, when it says doom, it's all in capital letters. I can't convey that, but doom is all in capital letters every time it appears in here.
Maya's just like, yes, I would agree that I feel guns are not needed here, but I think our friends over there would disagree with that statement. I think we need to be on high alert and be prepared to protect yourself if needs be. And she's going to kind of wander over to the rest of the party and kind of just let them know what's happened.
Is this something that this cartograph can actually do?
Oh, and before Maya leaves the Ibian, she's going to try and conjure up what a gun looks like, if possible. So the Ibians kind of have an idea of what to look out for.
I'd prefer to say you draw a picture of it. You can draw a picture. You can conjure up a picture of it.
Yeah,
I would say And they look at it, and it's something they completely alien to them. Like they know, as it's completely alien to the other inhabitants of the Dreamlands.
Yeah,
To
and I'm
answer
going
your
to kind of try and describe to Maya's knowledge of how a gun works to them.
they look at you. You don't know if they understand what you're saying, but the import and the urgency of what you're saying does like communicate itself to them.
Mhm.
To answer your question, Major Mercy, from your conversation with Karakov, his main thrust was, what if you could, not that he can.
I mean, my worry is like, can the Sarnathians do like? Could they make that like happen?
Yeah, because they're natives of this land, so yeah, they probably can't conjure things up, but
Nancy is right. The Sarnathians are not dreamers. They are natives of the land. They do not get the same abilities and powers that dreamers get.
they could manufacture them.
The technology, I would say this, the technology level of Dreamlands is like 300 years before what it is in the real world.
So would we be thinking this is not a promise Karkaroff can keep?
Pretty much.
Like, right. I will sort of relay this and say like, I don't think it's something you can actually do. What would be more telling is the Sarnathians are looking to buy. So if this negotiation doesn't go their way, this hearing that they're going to, then I don't think they're going to take the loss and get on with their lives. They're going to fight it.
Sore losers.
Well, I mean, it depends how you look at it, but yeah, I would say like they're going to take. If they win, great. The legal process is fantastic, and if they lose, well, it's clearly not fair, and they'll take matters into their own hands.
Mhm.
But that said, they've eradicated many of the Ivians before with
Without the need of them.
yeah, without
Mm.
Can I ask Maya, and indeed maybe the Avians later, when they speak of doom, is this a specific thing that's going to happen?
Don't think Maya would necessarily know the answer to that. However, if you were to go over and ask the Ibians the same question,
I shall.
the Sarnathians will have their doom. We are confident that it will come to them.
I suppose when I'm asking Ibian name insert here.
They don't have names.
Oh yeah.
I forgot you were calling more Bob.
Bob.
Do you believe that the Sarnathians' ways will inevitably bring bad things to them because of the nature of the universe? Or are you, the Ibians, in some way working towards this doom? And I suppose, well, is doom, a metaphorical sense, or is it, complete destruction in a very literal and real sense?
He looks at you, and even though you can't really discern facial expressions, he looks peaceful, and he says, they will meet their doom. It will come to them. Doesn't
But
really
will
say much
you
more than
make
that.
that happen?
He doesn't say much. He doesn't say more than that, really.
Would Maya kind of be able to pick up on anything from having
Yes.
hung around with them so long?
You would get. I won't make you roll for this because you would probably see the facial expressions and understand the nuances. It's less of something they're working towards and more like a prophecy that they fully
Okay.
believe in. How it will come
Okay.
about, they may not necessarily know, but they are confident that it will happen.
Okay.
Mhm. Maya will relate this to Major Mercy when they get a moment alone.
Yeah. I was just concerned they're going to try and massacre them all. I mean, I'm not saying this is not what these people deserve, but like, probably won't help matters.
Probably about this time, Henri arrives at the banqueting hall, having been conveniently absent for this entire escapade, and says, Mesdames, Messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, we will shortly be arriving at Thalarion. Again, I would please suggest that you do not alight from the train. We are here to pick up any lost dreamers. Those who are attracted by Thalarion may not ever return from there. We'll be arriving there at 11 p.m.
Henri, hypothetically speaking, if someone, say, fell from the train and into this land, into this place they shouldn't go, what would happen?
Anybody or anything that falls from the train is caught and returned to the train.
Of course, yes. That's a sensible safety precaution.
So Maya mutters under her breath after hearing this. So no pushing the Sarnathians off then.
Well, I was going to push Korgorov off, but
Then pushed off. What does the landscape look? So looking out of the windows, what do we see?
Yes, actually. As you're passing out, you can still see sunlight. There's some starlight, unfamiliar constellations, though. But you're currently passing through this wide and very pleasant plain, and you can see mobs of wild horses being chased by what look like purple wolves. You see birds soaring overhead, but it looks like trick of the light must be. It looks like they've got human hands. And in the distance, as you look, you can see this magnificent city approaching, but the spires reach into the skies. You can't even see the top of the spires. Grey walls surrounding the city. You can't see much of the buildings other than these spires reaching so high. There's a pier leading out into the sea. It looks amazing. It looks breathtaking. But this is the city of Thalarion, where Henri has warned you against leaving.
Nancy is obviously not going to get off. She was just looking out the window.
Of course.
Does it look like there is anyone who's going to get off?
We'll say that by now the express arrives at the platform. Nobody gets off the train, but you do see a figure there waiting on the platform. And it's a figure in a dark cloak.
sure they're fine. What else do you wear? A cloak?
Henri steps down the stairs from the pavilions to the platform and says, if anybody who's watching this, say witnessing this, Henri, you probably can't hear what's being said, but Henri is shaking his head and waving his hand, no. The impression being you are not getting on this train.
And what's the dark figure doing?
Just looks at him. And after a few moments, Henri stops moving. His hands fall to the side. And he steps aside. And as you look at Henri's face, he has a blank expression. And his eyes are glowing
A glowing.
red.
That doesn't sound good. Maya's going to stand in front of this. Sorry?
You would remember, if Maya's stand there, you remember this is very similar glow to the glow that is in Mironima's eyes when he was attacking Lady Madame Brucia.
Yeah, Maya's gonna just step in front of the guy and say, "Oi, I think it was quite clear to anyone watching that you're not welcome aboard here. Bugger off.
You look, as you're saying this, you look at this figure, and beneath the cloak, beneath the hood, you see a blackened skull.
Mm-hmm.
You see glowing red eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to make me a sanity roll.
Of course, I knew that was coming. Who says Maya's not going to go insane?
1d4. That's 4. Three points of sanity lost for Maya. And Maya,
Mm-hmm.
he looks down at you with with these glowing red eyes. I need you to make me a power roll. You feel like this thing burrowing into your mind, trying to take control of it, but with your willpower, you manage to like fight it off.
Mm-hmm.
And this creature, this thing, looks back at Henri. And Henri's not moving, he just like stood aside, ready to allow this creature to get on board. What would you like to do?
Maya's going to stand her ground. And try and indicate to the rest of the party. Help.
I'm in a banquet.
I think the banquet is finished by now. Maya, do you want to do anything to try and snap Henry out of his hypnotism?
I mean, from what I gather, he's right down the kind of other end of the whatever the boarding thing is.
He's still close to you. He's just like standing out of the way of this thing.
Yeah. In that case, I'm just going to try and slap him across the face.
He's not moving, and he just like wakes up and goes, "No, you do not get on board this train. You have already travelled. You have already discarded. You do not board this train again." And the sorcerer just turns, and this creature just turns and moves away. Nancy and Edward, you're probably watching this altercation from the pavilions, and next to you, you see Madame Brusha also looking, and as the sorceress thinks away, she smirks to herself, somewhat vindictive smile.
I sort of look at Madame Brusha and go, "Was that him?"
He nods. That was the sorcerer, yes. I won't let him get it. I will not let him get it.
Is there anything else I can do to help? I mean, it looks like my colleague managed to...
You and your friends have done more than enough already. I thank you. Having had this altercation finished, Henri and Maya reboard the train. It is now midnight.
Maya's just going to say, what was that thing? It unnerved me a bit.
That creature has travelled on the express before. It unnerved me as well. However, he discarded his totem in the Gulf of Newlands, and so by the contract, he is not allowed to ride again.
He seemed to take control of your mind for a second there, and you seemed willing to let him go on board. That's quite worrying. What would have happened if he had got on board again?
Shudder to think. Yes, I've had trouble with unsavory people taking control of my mind before in a previous life. But thank you for your timely assistance. Now we must resume our journey.
If you need any help or anyone to talk to, come find me. I'll probably be with the Ibians.
Of course, Mademoiselle, and your friends as well. Yes, you've been a great help. Your help than you could imagine. Meanwhile, I must make an announcement, and he speaks to you, but you can hear the echo throughout the train. Everybody else hears this. Mesdames, Messieurs, the next leg of our journey will take us through the land of Zura. It is a beautiful countryside. However, I must once again do not disembark. This beauty is only, as they say, skin deep. You do not want to be caught here. There are unsavory things around. We will have a stop in 6 hours' time to pick up if there are any lost travelers. Other than that, I will be closing the curtains so that we cannot see outside. That is all.
Out of idle curiosity, Maya's going to say, what is outside?
It is a land of decay, of rot. There are plague-stricken towns. There are abattoirs where unthinkable things are done. The inhabitants of this land are grotesque mockeries. They are evil. It looks beautiful. You'll hear song, you'll hear laughter, but it is like a siren's call. Do not be tempted.
Very well.
And having returned to the express starts up again. Stamp, 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 stamp. And the next stop for the train will be at 6 a.m. on a lonely platform of Zura. Is there anything anybody wishes to do? Or we can fast forward. We can fast forward through this.
I was going to say Maya would be standing guard outside of the Ibians' kind of place to make sure no Sarnathians come to cause trouble. And any Ibians that need to go anywhere, like I think they said they use the bath occasionally, she'll be making sure to escort them.
Should anybody else be doing?
At some point, Nancy would like to go and find Madame Brusha
Mm-hmm.
and ask her what she knows about the Sarnathians and the Ibians, if anything.
She would know what everybody else knows, and she would probably tell you more of the legend of the Ibians being attacked by the Sarnathians. I think it's really all that anybody knows about it. Everybody agrees that the Ibians were happy living by the lake, worshipping their idol. Then the Sarnathians came in and drove them out, exterminated them, took their land, and the Ibians basically swore vengeance on them. That's probably as much as she knows. For her to see these two parties on the train is probably something unusual for her.
Do you have any idea how the legal processes are likely to work here?
I understand King Tyrannus is a just and a noble ruler. In fact, I believe he comes from the waking world. He has ruled these lands for many, many centuries. He is a fair judge. If anybody can sort this mess out, he will be able to.
But how will this? Do you know how the trial will work? Will they be able to give evidence? Will
Both sides will make their case. The king will make his decision. The parties will abide by that decision. He has enough authority to be able to do that.
even if one side were not happy about the outcome?
They will be made to abide by his word, regardless of their personal feelings.
Thank you. It is nice to have some confidence in this.
Could I go and see the Sarnathians?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, right, what I'm going to try and do is say, like, I understand Karkarov taught you, and I can guess it's about providing you with weapons. Is that right?
Yes, these amazing devices he told us about. Who could have thought you could destroy your enemy at a long distance? They wouldn't even know you were there.
Okay. The thing is, he's very much a second-rate, well, third-rate purveyor of weapons. He's Russian. Now you might not know this, but Russia has just collapsed into, well, the worst thing imaginable, communism. And you know, and then you might also be French, but you know, that's not a great deal better, to be honest. The British, my people, are the preeminent world power. And if you let us know what exactly it is you need from these weapons, I'm sure we can provide you for them at higher quality and cheaper.
Do you have a way of getting these weapons to us? Monsieur Karakov said that he was looking into ways of bringing weapons into the Dreamlands. Do you have a way of doing so?
Well, I'll put it this way. Britain found ways of getting guns and other things to on the other side of the world and conquer countries. We'll find a way.
If you wish to make arrangements, I will certainly pass your proposal along to my companions.
But I suppose it's I need to know, like, for example, are you looking for a poisonous gas like mustard gas, which could kill many Ibians? Well, or whoever. That's not you know. Are you looking for artillery to cause massive devastation on a large scale? Are you looking for rifles, sniper rifles, landmines, tanks?
You're saying all these words to him, and he obviously doesn't know what you're talking about, but you see his eyes widen in wonder as you're saying these things. Yes? All of that? Yes?
So it sounds like you're wanting to conduct a war.
Well, as Mr. Karakov said, it helps to be able to defend ourselves against any possibility of invasion.
There was a great leader in our world, Teddy Roosevelt, who said it's wise to speak softly, but carry a big stick. So act nice, and then when you don't get what you want, you hit them with a stick. So would you just be looking to use these weapons against the Ibians?
Or whoever threatens us. We want to land. We want to keep our land.
So if the king was to side with the Ibians, would you seek some? And this is just purely because the Ibians, I can't imagine, would take much to push over. You know, I'm going to rattle off some like names of weapons and talk about caliber of gun and all. Wouldn't take much to deal with them, but a more substantial force.
Well, the king has authority, and we would abide by any agreements, of course.
Of course.
But if we were threatened, we would feel the need to defend ourselves.
Against anyone?
Whoever dares to threaten our way of life.
Well, first and foremost, I am a servant of the British Empire, and I'm sure we could, as I say, higher quality and cheaper than anything Mr. Karkarov. He also has a history of selling to both sides.
Hmm.
There was a great war in our land, and he sold weapons to the side I fought on and our enemy. So, he would see no problem in arming your enemies. Whereas Britain has more of a political mindset and would, want to ensure what the side we supported won.
Interesting. As I said, I shall definitely bring your proposal to my companions. If you can provide us with a better agreement than Mr. Karakov, we will certainly consider what you have to say.
Okay. And I'll say goodbye, and then I'll run along back to our party and just explain that, they're absolutely going to fight this, and they want everything. They want tanks. They wanted the ability to wage a war, not just shoot some guy in the back. They're looking for to fight a war.
Oh.
So, this seems to me like we should tell the king that.
Agreed.
Anybody else have anything they wish to do or say or talk about? If not, we shall fast forward time to 6 o'clock in the morning, and the express grinds to a halt at a lonely, deserted platform in the middle of this land. For this brief moment of time, Henri allows the curtains to be drawn so you can see it's like a desolate, ruined area with this platform. And on this platform, again, there's a lone figure. And he holds out, those of you who are watching, he holds out what looks like a ticket, somewhat bedraggled, somewhat ragged, to Henri. But Henri shakes his head. No. This figure looks around, and he sees you, Edward, watching from the window. And he says in a raspy voice, James Howley?
No, but I have an ancestor named James Howley.
James Howley. Please, Monsieur Howley. And you recognise him as the ghoul from the Paris catacombs. Henri says, no, I cannot allow this creature to board the train.
Why not?
He is not trustworthy. His kind eat living creatures.
That does seem a reasonable objection.
But Guillaume, the ghoul, says, no, I wish to travel to the Gulf. I wish to die, throw myself into the Gulf. I wish to die as a man, not as this thing. Please let me do this.
Would we be able to let him come along?
Henri is still reluctant. Edward, can you make me a persuade roll, please, if you have it? Persuade's only 10. Well, it's not a failure. He looks a bit reluctant. Henri says, well, he has a ticket. He is looking for redemption. I will let him board the train, but he must restrict himself to the padded compartment area. Would that be acceptable? And Guillaume says, "Oui, monsieur. Merci. That will be acceptable."
It's getting pretty full.
And with that, the ghoul that was Guillaume boards the train, nodding you a thanks, Edward Beatty. Thank you, merci, Monsieur Howley. So, what is your name? I can't do the raspy voice. What is your name?
Edward Beatty.
Monsieur Beatty. Merci. And he nods at you, and he lopes his way to the padded compartment area. Henri looks thoughtfully after and says, "This journey is getting more and more eventful by the moment. I hope there'll be no further incidents." With that, we will continue our journey. There are another 6 hours before we leave this accursed land and arrive at our next station. Please, monsieur, please reboard the train.
Yes, let's.
Shortly after the train leaves, Edward, there is a knock at your compartment door.
Come in.
The door opens, and it's the Sarnathian you met earlier, Caramel. "My friend Edward, I thought I could find you here. My companions and I have had a little chat amongst ourselves, a discussion amongst ourselves, and we feel it'd be better if the Ibians did not arrive at the conference with King Kuranes."
And what exactly are you suggesting?
Well, this express accidents happen. If the 6 beings of Ib something were to befall them, it would be very tragic, of course, but it'll be another 1,000 years before they send another delegation. It would be no longer our problem. We were wondering if you'd be willing to join us in our, shall we say, venture.
I will not be a party to murder.
Who said anything about murder? Ha 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 ha. Oh yes, of course. Just our little joke. Yes. Oh, of course. I'm not being serious at all. Yes. Yes. Good. Thank you. Hope I haven't disturbed you. And he quickly trots off down the corridor.
Better keep a close eye on them. They might be planning some treachery of the Long Knives.
Make one final stop before we end the session this evening. I think it's appropriate place to. This would be appropriate place to stop. The train leaves this land of Zura. The express leaves this land of Zura, and it pulls up at another platform. But this platform is in the middle of an empty valley. You see fields of golden grass. You see wind blowing the grass. You see a tiny little river making a tinkling noise as it flows through. You see many coloured hills rising up on all sides. And in the middle of the valley, there is a pillar of white gold veined marble, broken halfway up as if been cut off at the top. And it looks like there's a plaque written on it. Henri says, "Mesdames, Messieurs, we'll be making a short stop here for approximately, it says 2 hours. We'll be making a stop here for 2 hours. Please, if you wish to debark the train, please do so. This is a pleasant area. Please, that is all. Thank you. Merci." I take it everybody. Sorry.
I was going to say, is a British soldier, officer, and whatnot. There seems to be some marble lying around. It doesn't belong to anyone. Probably have it. So let's go have a look.
Okay. You approach the marble pillar. I said this too. This is the inscription on the marble pillar. Major Mercy, if you wish to read this one out.
In memory of Ira?
Ira, without there, yeah.
Ira. Here once stood Ira of the golden domes, the dream of the shepherd boy Iranon. As long as Iranon sought Ira, he remained eternally young, and for that long Ira flourished. When Iranon lost hope, he turned old overnight and walked into the Gnazic quicksand. That night, Ira and all her people vanished. O dreamers, hold fast to your dreams, lest they too perish.
And you hear Henri behind you. Monsieur, this was the place of the dream city of Ira. It is said that as long as someone remembers Ira, it will not pass into history, and perhaps one day it may even come back. Please allow me a moment. And he stands in front of the pillar, clasps his hands and bows his head, removes his hat and then bows his head for a few moments. Behind him, coming from the train, is a rather sad procession. A double line of cats bears the body of Snowpaw gently from the train, with his grieving mother following behind. They carry the poor body into the valley, stop at a certain point, and half a dozen of them start digging in the ground, scratching out a shallow grave. And then they gently lower their little comrade into the grave, cover it up, and bury him beneath the sighing golden grasses of Ira. Any of you wish to join them for this?
Yeah,
Nancy
now
will, yeah.
pay her respects.
Shortly afterwards, after they've paid their respects, after the funeral has been completed, they return to the train. Henri returns to the express, beckons you to return to the express, and that is where we will leave it for this evening.
Before we stop, can Nancy ask Henri about that inscription? And just to say, this isn't anything to do with people who threw things into the Gulf of Nodens and should remain on with their dreams. That's not how this happened.
This is not a dreamer from the waking world. This was a native of this land. He spent years, decades, searching for the city of his youth, Ira. Everywhere he went, he would sing, he would dance, he would tell stories of this city, of this golden city. Until one day he encountered an old man who, when he heard this young man, this Iranan story, told him that he knew of the city. He knew of a young man who thought he could find the city, but the city was long gone. And Iranan saw that his quest had been a mere legend, a mere fairy tale. And as his inscription says, he walks into the quicksands. But there are those who believe that Ira did exist, and Ira can exist if enough people remember it, if enough dreamers hold fast to it. That young lady, Zusha, she is considering letting go of her dream, isn't she?
She is. I will tell her of what.
Yes.
Of this. I'm anxious for her.
Yes. Even though I cannot personally a professional interest myself, I'm also anxious for the poor young lady. But we shall see what happens. Let us continue our journey. And with that, we'll bring this session to a close. Let us go around the table and ask what our favourite moments were. We'll start with Brian. What was your favourite moment of the evening? Your stars and wishes.
My star, meeting the ghoul.
I thought you'd like that. I love that connection. Going back to when we did the Reign of Terror, I was so happy when you said this would be a descendant of that character because it plays so much into that history. Wishes? Sorry, stars. Yeah, wishes is the other one. Yes, I'm awake.
Maybe a slightly longer session next time, since due to work I missed the first 30 minutes or so.
We should be able to do that. Yes, this some of them. It depends where we get to. Depends how where things are, natural stopping points and things like that. But I'd take that on board. I'm conscious of that myself sometimes. Richard has had to run off. Robin.
The Ibians singing "Happy Birthday" and giving Major Mercy a gift. I know we talked about it briefly, but I didn't actually expect you to do it.
It played in so well. They were there. It gives them a reason to be there, and it gives a reason for Zusha to dance. It just worked out perfectly. Oh, thank you so much for that idea.
Yeah, no, I just loved that. But as I say, I didn't actually expect you to do it, so I thought you were just kind of half joking when we were talking earlier.
It was a fantastic idea. Yeah.
I want to see the Sarnathians get their comeuppance. I really just, anytime they appear, I really just want to punch them in the face. I find them that vile.
Oh boy. Sarah?
I'm really enjoying the sort of watching, has not made necessarily an active part in it, what is going on with the Sarnathians and the Ibians and whatever is now starting to happen with trying to bring weapons into somewhere without weapons in the same way. I think that's all. Yeah, all interesting. And actually, I'm just really enjoying sort of the dream world and the whole. Yeah, anything can happen. There aren't sort of fixed laws and things like that. I'm really enjoying that.
Seems a much nicer place than that other dream place we went.
The other place you went.
Aye.
Oh, the one in Dream Lausanne, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wish is just more of the same.
For myself, I enjoyed the banter between the characters. I think there's a lot more into character banter and roleplay this time around. I know we said we want more of it, and I think I'm trying to allow space for that as well. But I'm glad that some of it came up this time. I liked the way Edward, the way Brian, played Edward when Edward was approached about joining the Sarnathians against the Ibians. I thought that was quite good. For wishes, not much to say for this one really, apart from what's already been said. I'm enjoying getting back to these characters, and it's always after a while, it's always nice to come back to these characters and step into their shoes again. But yeah, let's see what happens next time when we arrive at Salon and matters start coming to a head.